He hath inclined his ear unto me. Therefore I will call upon him as long as I live. Verse 5. Gracious is the Lord, righteous, and yea, our God is merciful. Verse 8. For thou hast delivered my soul from death, mine eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. Lord God, we thank you for your word. We ask that you would move in this place, that we hear your word anew, afresh. It would be revelation for our life. We thank you, and we give you all the praise. Amen. Amen. This season, this Christmas season, as commercialized as it is really about love. It's really about love. It's more about love than even Valentine's Day. It's about love. Even shopping centers, they pull at your heartstring and your purse string to buy gifts and presents because you love. Right after Thanksgiving, the Hallmark and Lifetime channels start those holiday movies that are about love with a twist that would give any statue of a man a reason to cry when he watches those movies. The whole biblical narrative of this season of Jesus coming into the world was about love. You know it, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. However, as much of a season of love Christmas is, as much as you want to buy gifts for those that you love, and as lovely as some people are in your life, there are some people that are hard to love. Lord, help me in here. You have to make yourself love them. You have to make yourself love them. Are you thinking about someone right now? So-and-so comes to mind, huh? A wife went with her friend to the police station to report that her husband was missing. And when the policeman asked for a description, she said he's 6'2", has deep blue eyes and dark wavy hair, athletic build, well-groomed, sharply dressed, weighs 185 pounds. He's soft-spoken, well-mannered, loves children. The friend that went with her spoke up and said, but your husband is fat. 5'3". He's rude. He smokes cigars. He's bald. Has a big mouth. He never bathes. He dressed sloppy. His teeth is rotten. He's terribly mean to your children. The wife replied, yes, but who wants that one back? Yes, there are some people that are hard to love, especially in the season. On the other hand, there are people that are easy to love. Some people you love the moment you meet them, and it's not difficult in loving them. You don't have to make yourself love them. You just can't help but to love them. Well, today, among many, I have some reasons why I love the Lord. Lord, help me in here. I have reasons why I love the Lord. The Lord is not hard to love. The Lord is easy to love. And the reasons I can use today come from Psalm 116, 1 through 8. Can I tell you the first reason why I love the Lord? I love the Lord according to the psalmist, and as the psalmist states, because the Lord heard my cry. I can go further, but let me say it right there. Let me stop right there. Anytime somebody hears your cry, anytime somebody hears you calling, anytime somebody hears you in distress and in trouble and they come to your rescue, that's somebody you ought to love. Lord, help me in here. He heard my cry and my supplications. He heard my voice. The Lord knows it's me when I call. Good God. He knows my voice from everybody else. And he hears my supplications. That's my prayers. I'm grateful that the Lord hears me. When I've called on him, and I needed a rescue, it wasn't eloquent. It wasn't the best communication. It wasn't the greatest articulation or even the best conversation. See, because when I really need him, between the crying and the grasping for air, you don't know what you got off with clear diction. And yet he still heard my voice. Lord, help me in here. If you've ever had a need to know that God can hear your cry even when you can't get it out right. God can hear your prayer even when you can't say it eloquently. God can hear you, and when others are calling on you, calling on him, and he knows you from everybody else. Because he loves you. Because I'm his child. And he loves me. So he hears. What makes me love him is also not that he hears, but how the Lord hears me. It says in verse 2, because he hath inclined his ear unto me. Therefore I will call upon him as long as I live. To hear me, the Lord's posture changes. God. Like an adult leaning over close to hear a child, to hear them clearly, the Lord leans over, inclining his ear close to you to hear you with clarity. In order to incline his ear, it means the Lord has to meet me where I am. Instead of waiting on me to get on his level, which would be impossible, the Lord comes to my level and meets me where I am. I'm glad the Lord never waits until I have it all together to hear me, because I would never be heard. After hearing my prayer and meeting me where I was, he saved me. He didn't even leave me where he found me, but he changed me where I was. And I was not just changed for a moment, but I was changed to be elevated. He elevated me. Somebody ought to be able to give God praise, because God heard you, God changed you, and God has elevated you. And God has moved you from one moment to another moment, all because he changed his posture to come to where you were. Why I love the Lord? There are 3 reasons in verse 5. And they all go together. In verse 5 it says that gracious is the Lord, righteous, and our God is merciful. Great attributes, wonderful things. God is gracious. God is righteous and merciful. The psalmist says these things in light of the things that he had been through. He said that the sorrows of death compassed me, and the pains of hell got hold upon me. I found trouble and sorrow. Then I called on the name of the Lord, and the Lord, oh Lord, I beseech thee, deliver my soul. Then the psalmist says, the Lord is gracious. The Lord is righteous. The Lord is merciful. I took that for face value. And I said, anybody should shout off of that. That the Lord is gracious, he's righteous, and he's merciful. And then I had to look at it again, because I said that, everybody could shout off of that, but that's not really a shouting point. And the Lord said, you got to look back at it again. And I had to look at it again. And when I looked at it this time, I stopped looking at the words and I looked at the order. Gracious, righteous, merciful. Now understand, gracious means kind, and righteous means to judge rightly, and merciful means forgiving and compassionate. So you have to know that you were going to pick the word that does not fit, like you would do in school. If you were going to pick the word that does not fit in the category, out of the 3, righteous should not be in there. Maybe you don't see it, but righteous means to rightly judge. That has nothing to do with him being kind and him being merciful. Though merciful and gracious could kind of go together, but righteous doesn't fit in there automatically. And so that's why maybe the writer sandwiched righteous between gracious and merciful. Because see, if the Lord is righteous, then the Lord judges, and the Lord judges us based on what the law requires and the consequences that are set. But because his righteous rulings are bordered by grace and mercy, the Lord's righteousness becomes morally justifiable because he has to start out with grace and he has to end me up with mercy. Good God Almighty, help me in here. In other words, because grace is there and because of mercy, the way we should be judged in light of our sin nature is covered by God's grace and his mercy. Why I love the Lord is because God allowed righteousness to be checked and filtered through grace and mercy. I need him to do it every time. I need him to say, I'll have you through grace and I'll have you through mercy, even though my righteousness should judge you. If he judged me that way, I wouldn't be worth anything. Should we be judged righteously based on truth and fact? Most of us would be locked up and the key thrown away. But God's grace was your bailiff and mercy was your bondsman. Somebody ought to shout it right there. And you ought to say, by God's grace and mercy, you're free. God's grace and mercy has brought you through. Do I have a witness right there that'll give God a praise that even though he should have judged you based on what was right and what was supposed to, his grace and mercy caught you and kept you going and brought you through. Why I love the Lord. Verse 3 and verse 8, he says, thou hast delivered my soul from death, mine eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. The psalmist says, not only am I grateful because of his grace and how he's righteous and his mercy, but I love him because finally he delivered his soul from death, his eyes from tears, and he delivered his feet from falling. Yes. The psalmist declares why he loves the Lord. He says, finally, he delivered my soul from death, my eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. And sometimes you have to say things over again to let them settle in you. The psalmist says, finally, I love the Lord because he delivered my soul from death. He delivered my eyes from tears, and he delivered his feet from falling. What the psalmist declares why he loves the Lord, not only because he heard his cry, heard his prayers, and leaned over to get clarity. Not only because the Lord is gracious, righteous, and merciful, but he says, I love the Lord. And I say, I love the Lord because the Lord delivered my soul from death, delivered me from stuff I got in, but I could not get myself out of. That's what he's saying. Many times the Lord has wiped my tears away so I could see clearly a brand new day that was ahead of me. He'll turn your sorrow into joy. He'll turn your mourning into dancing, and he'll give you beauty for ashes. That's what the psalmist is saying. And he said, and my feet from falling. Even though I have been in some rough places, I've walked in some rough places, I have tripped over some tricky circumstances, there have been some curves that were lifted, there have been some roots that have been in my way, but the Lord has caught me every time I've tripped so I wouldn't fall. Lord, help me in here. I'm about to take my seat, but can I help you to understand it real simply? There was a father who had two sons. One was named Life, the other was named Death. And life and death were fraternal twins. The father favored life more than he did death. So one day the father gave Life a special gift, an heirloom box. And Life placed the box under the bed to hide it from his jealous brother Death. And one day jealousy overwhelmed Death. And Death, he had been watching Life for a long time. He was waiting for an opportunity to steal the box. He went into Life's room and he took the box. And when Life went under the bed one day, to his surprise and shock, he discovered that the box was missing. He hollered, "Father, Father, my box is gone. It's missing. The precious gift you gave me is gone. I know my brother Death took my gift, and he has been watching me." And the father said, "Oh, son, don't worry. While Death was watching you, I was watching Death. And I switched the boxes so Death has nothing but an empty box. And I come to bless somebody to say that he's delivered you from death, and all Death has is an empty box. God's got your soul. Do I have a witness in here? The Lord has blessed us so many ways and given us far more than we ever deserved. If I gave each of you a blank sheet of paper and asked you to write down all the things God has done for you, how many of us would fill up that whole sheet and need another sheet? If it was not for the grace and the mercy of God, God says, "I've kept you until this time." God has been very good to us when we think about how the Lord has heard us and how the Lord has helped us and how the Lord has delivered us, and to add all the blessings that he's brought into your life. I ask you today, why do you love the Lord? I know why I love the Lord, but why do you love the Lord? Has he taken care of you? Has he lifted you? Has he delivered you? Has he made a way? Has he helped you through? Has he worked it out? Somebody ought to say, "I love him too." Not by myself. I love the Lord. He heard my cry and pitied every groan. As long as I live and trouble rise, I'm going to hasten to his throne. High by somebody and tell him I love the Lord too, because God's been good to me. He's better than any Christmas gift. He's better than any present. He is the best present. He's the best thing that ever happened to my life. I love him. Do you love him? I ask you, why do you love the Lord? Did he do something for you? Make a way out of the way? Helped you through some things? He said he delivered his soul from death. He wiped the tears from his eyes. And he kept him from falling. Just a few reasons why I love the Lord. I hope you develop your own reason of why you love the Lord. And this season, if you have nothing else, have a love for God and a love for the Lord. He sent Jesus just for you, all because he loved you. It's the greatest love story that has ever been told. A God that came down for his people to show them love and to wrap us and enfold us in that love. When I tell you, your soul is God's to own. No matter what you have to face, death has an empty box because Jesus came just for you and your soul. God is waiting for you to receive his love. Many hearts have been broken. Some have said, "I'll never love again." But this is a love that you can't deny. You can't turn away from it because he cares for you. He loves you so deeply. Why don't you just hold yourself and in that embrace, feel that love of God. Him holding you. It's that same feeling that you get when you feel like you can't face another day. It's that same feeling that calms you when anxiety is rising up. It's that same feeling that you are able to feel when you're going through a tough and hard time. It's the love of God that holds you. It's the love of God that keeps you. I love him. I love him so deeply. And see, when there's no earthly love that can handle your problems, no earthly love that can deal with your struggles because they have struggles of their own, it's the love of God that shows you you're worthy, that shows you you're worth something. He wants to love on you today. I love him because without me doing anything, he first loved me. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Come on and give God some praise. He's so worthy.